Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Miracle of the Sun. The Miracle of the Sun, also known as the Miracle of Fátima, refers to an event that allegedly occurred on the 13th of October 1917 above a large crowd who had gathered near Fátima, Portugal, in response to a prophecy made by 3 shepherd children. The prophecy was that the Virgin Mary would appear and perform miracles on that date. Newspapers published testimony from reporters and other people who claimed to have witnessed extraordinary solar activity such as the sun appearing to dance or zigzag in the sky, careen towards the earth, or emit multicolored light and radiant colors. According to these reports, the event lasted approximately 10 minutes. The local bishop opened a canonical investigation of the event in November 1917. To review witness accounts and assess whether the alleged private revelation from Mary were compatible with Catholic theology. The local priest conducting the investigation was particularly convinced by the concurring testimony of extraordinary solar phenomena from secular reporters, government officials and other skeptics in attendance. Bishop José da Silva declared the miracle worthy of belief on the 13th of October 1930, permitting officially the cult of Our Lady of Fátima within the Catholic Church. At a gathering on the 13th of October 1951 at Fátima, the papal legate, Cardinal Federico Tedeschini, told the million people attending that on the 30th of October, the 31st of October, the 1st of November and the 8th of November 1950, Pope Pius XII himself witnessed the miracle of the sun. From the Vatican Gardens, the early and enduring interest in the miracle and related prophecies has had a significant impact on the devotional practices of many Catholics. There has been much analysis of the event from critical sociological and scientific perspectives. According to critics, the eyewitness testimony was actually a collection of inconsistent and contradictory accounts. Proposed alternate explanations include witnesses being deceived by their senses due to prolonged staring at the sun, and then seeing something unusual as they had expected. Background. Beginning in the spring of 1917, 3 Catholic shepherd children living near Fátima reported apparitions of an angel, and starting in May 1917, apparitions of the Virgin Mary, whom the children described as the Lady of Fátima. The children reported a prophecy that prayer would lead to an end to the Great War, and that on the 13th of October of that year the Lady would reveal her identity and perform a miracle, so that all may believe. Newspapers reported the prophecies, and many pilgrims began visiting the area. The children's accounts were deeply controversial, drawing intense criticism from both local secular and religious authorities. A provisional administrator briefly took the children into custody, believing the prophecies were politically motivated in opposition to the officially secular First Portuguese Republic established in 1910. The event. Estimates of the number of people present range from 30,000 and 40,000. By Abelino de Almeida, writing for the Portuguese newspaper O Século, to 100,000 estimated by lawyer Dr. José Almeida Garrett, the son of a professor of natural sciences at the University of Coimbra. Various claims have been made as to what actually happened during the event. According to many witnesses, after a period of rain, the dark clouds broke, and the sun appeared as an opaque spinning disk in the sky. It was said to be significantly duller than normal and to cast multicolored lights across the landscape, the people, and the surrounding clouds. The sun was then reported to have careened towards the earth before zigzagging back to its normal position. Witnesses reported that their previously wet clothes became suddenly and completely dry, as well as the wet and muddy ground that had been previously soaked because of the rain that had been falling. Not all witnesses reported seeing the sun dance. Some people only saw the radiant colors and others, including some believers, saw nothing at all. The only known picture of the sun taken during the event shows nothing unusual. The three children who originally claimed to have seen Our Lady of Fatima also reported seeing a panorama of visions, including those of Jesus, Our Lady of Sorrows, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and of St. Joseph blessing the people. In the fourth edition of her memoirs written in 1941, Lucia said that on the occasion of their third visit to the Covidria on the 13th of July 1917, she asked the lady to tell them who she was and to perform a miracle so that everyone would believe. The lady told her that they should continue to come to the Cova each month until October, when the requested miracle would occur. De Marchi accounts. Descriptions of the events reported at Fatima were collected by Father John de Marchi, an Italian Catholic priest and researcher. De Marchi spent 7 years in Fatima from 1943 to 1950, conducting research and interviewing the principals at length. In The Immaculate Heart, published in 1952, de Marchi reports that their ranks included believers and non-believers, pious old ladies and scoffing young men. Hundreds from these mixed categories have given formal testimony. Reports to vary, impressions are in minor details confused, but none, to our knowledge, has directly denied the visible prodigy of the sun. De Marchi authored several books on the subject, such as The True Story of Fatima. They include a number of witness descriptions. De Marchi also drew on the newspaper account written by Avelino de Almeida, a journalist sent by the newspaper O Seculo, who described in detail the reactions of the crowd. Catholic Church recognition. The event was declared of supernatural character by the Catholic Church in 1930. A shrine was erected near the site in Fatima, which has been attended by thousands of faithful. Pope Pius XII approved the Fatima apparitions in 1940, 4 times. During the week that he declared the dogma of the Assumption of Mary, Pope Pius XII claimed to have witnessed the same miracle of the sun at 4 p.m. on the 30th of October 1950. During a walk in the Vatican gardens, he arrived at the statue of Our Lady of Lourdes and began to see the miracle. He described himself in his handwritten notes as awestruck. He saw the same miracle on the 31st of October, again on the 1st of November, and then again on the 8th of November. He wrote that on other days at about the same time he tried to see if he could observe the miracle of the sun, but was unable to. He confided this information to a number of Vatican cardinals, to Senior Pasquale Nelanit, and finally, to handwritten notes that were later placed on display at the Vatican. In 2017, Pope Francis approved the recognition of a miracle involving 2 of the children, Francisco and Jacinta Marto, who were involved in the Fatima event of 1917, which paved the way for their canonization. Believers' explanations. Within Catholicism, the event is seen as the fulfillment of a promise by Mary, Mother of Jesus, to the shepherd children. She appeared to several times before the 13th of October 1917. According to the children's accounts, Mary, referred to as the Lady of Fatima, promised them she would perform a miracle to show people they were telling the truth, and so caused the crowds to see the sun make incredible movements in the sky. Catholics have regarded Mary as a miracle worker for centuries, and this view has continued into the 21st century. Various theologians and apologetic scientists have discussed the limits of scientific explanations for the event, and proposed possible mechanisms through which divine intervention caused the solar phenomenon. Fr. Andrew Pinsent, research director of the Ian Ramsey Center for Science and Religion, at Oxford University states that a scientific perspective does not rule out miracles, and the event at Fatima is in the view of many particularly credible. He states that a usual prejudice involves a lack of understanding of the scope of scientific laws, which merely describe how natural systems behave isolated from free agents, concluding that the event is a public miracle of the most extraordinary kind and credibility. He sees the year of the event as connected to significant historical milestones that call for Fatima's message of repentance, Protestantism in 1517, Freemasonry in 1717, and atheistic communism in 1917. Theologian, professor and priest Stanley L. Jackie concurs, concluding that by divine intervention a coordinated interplay of natural meteorological events, an enhancement of air lens with ice crystals was made to occur at the exact time predicted, and this is the essence of the miracle. He assumed as fact that the sun didn't move, since observatories did not perceive any solar movement, and the vast majority of the Earth's populace didn't notice it either. Jackie described the phenomenon thus: a sudden temperature inversion must have taken place. The cold and warm air masses could conceivably propel that rotating air lens in an elliptical orbit first toward the Earth and then push it up as if it were a boomerang back to its original position. Meanwhile, the ice crystals in it acted as so many means of refraction for the sun's rays. Only one observer, a lawyer, stated 3 decades later that the path of descent and ascent was elliptical with small circles superimposed on it. Such an observation would make eminent sense to anyone familiar with fluid dynamics or even with the workings of a boomerang. There is indeed plenty of scientific information on hand to approach the miracle of the sun scientifically. The carefully coordinated interplay of so many physical factors would by itself be a miracle, even if one does not wish to see anything more in what actually happened. Clearly, the miracle of the sun was not a mere meteorological phenomenon, however rare. Otherwise it would have been observed before and after, regardless of the presence of devout crowds or not. I merely claim, which I did in my other writings on miracles, that in producing miracles God often makes use of the natural substratum by greatly enhancing its physical components and their interactions. According to Jackie, the faithful should believe that a miracle occurred at Fatima, and those who stake their purpose in life on Christ as the greatest and incomparably miraculous fact of history need to pay attention to facts that support miracles. Father de Marchi believed related miraculous phenomena such as the sun's effect on standing water from heavy rains that immediately preceded the event to be genuine. According to de Marchi, engineers that have studied the case reckoned that an incredible amount of energy would have been necessary to dry up to those pools of water that had formed on the field in a few minutes, as it was reported by witnesses. De Marchi wrote that the prediction of an unspecified miracle, the abrupt beginning and end of the event, the varied religious backgrounds of the observers, the sheer numbers of people present, reports of sightings by people up to 18 kilometers away, and the lack of any known scientific causative fact to make a mass hallucination or mass hysteria are unlikely. De Marchi concludes that given the indubitable reference to God and the general context of the story, it seems that we must attribute to him alone the most obvious and colossal miracle of history. Leo Madigan, a former psychiatric nurse and local journalist at Fatima in the late 20th century, also dismisses suggestions from critics of mass hypnosis, and believes that astonishment, fear, exaltation, and the spiritual nature of the phenomenon explain any inconsistency of witnesses' descriptions. Madigan wrote that what people saw was the reflection of the lady's own light projected on the sun itself. Criticism. Theologians, scientists and skeptics have responded to claims that conflict with established scientific knowledge regarding the behavior of the Sun. Science writer Benjamin Radford maintains that the Sun did not really dance in the sky. We know this because of course everyone on Earth is under the same sun. And if the closest dying star to us suddenly began doing celestial gymnastics, a few billion other people would surely have reported it. Radford wrote that psychological factors such as the power of suggestion and pareidolia can better explain the reported events. According to Radford, no one suggests that those who reported seeing the miracle of the Sun, or any other miracles, at Fatima or elsewhere, are lying or hoaxing. Instead, they very likely experienced what they claim to, though that experience took place mostly in their minds. In the evidence for visions of the Virgin Mary, Kevin McClure wrote that the crowd at COVID-RIRIA may have been expecting to see signs in the Sun, since similar phenomena had been reported in the weeks leading up to the miracle. On this basis, he believes that the crowd saw what it wanted to see. McClure also stated that he had never seen such a collection of contradictory accounts of a case in any of the research that he had done in the previous 10 years. According to theologian Lisa J. Schwebel, claims of the miracle present a number of difficulties. Schwebel states, "Not only did not all those present not see the phenomenon, but also there are considerable inconsistencies among witnesses as to what they did see." Schwebel also observes that there is no authentic photo of the solar phenomena claimed, despite the presence of hundreds of reporters and photographers at the field. And one photo often presented as authentic is actually a solar eclipse in another part of the world taken sometime before 1917. Supernatural explanations such as those by Father Pio Scatterzi, who argues that observers in Fatima could not be collectively deceived, or that the effect was not seen by observatories in distant places because of divine intervention, have been dismissed by critics who say those taking part in the event could certainly be deceived by their senses, or they could have experienced a localized natural phenomenon. Others, such as Professor of Physics Auguste Meeson, suggest that optical effects created by the human eye can account for the reported phenomenon. Meeson presented his analysis of apparitions and miracles of the Sun at the International Symposium Science, Religion and Conscience in 2003. While Meeson felt those who claimed to have experienced miracles were honestly experiencing what they report, he stated sun miracles cannot be taken at face value, and that the reported observations were optical effects caused by prolonged staring at the Sun. Meeson contends that retinal after-images produced after brief periods of sun-gazing are a likely cause of the observed dancing effects. Similarly, Meeson concluded that the color changes witnessed were most likely caused by the bleaching of photosensitive retinal cells. Meeson observes that sun miracles have been witnessed in many places, where religiously charged pilgrims have been encouraged to stare at the Sun. He cites the apparitions at Heroldsbach, Germany as an example, where many people within a crowd of over 10,000 testified to witnessing similar observations as at Fatima. Meeson also cites a British Journal of Ophthalmology article that discusses some modern examples of sun miracles. Professor Drive Stock, a meteorologist from Regensburg, also proposed a similar theory and made similar observations. Critics also suggest that a combination of clouds, atmospheric effects and natural sunlight could have created the reported visual phenomena. Stuart Campbell, writing for the edition of Journal of Meteorology in 1989, postulated that a cloud of stratospheric dust changed the appearance of the Sun on the 13th of October, making it easy to look at and causing it to appear to be yellow, blue and violet, and to spin In support of his hypothesis, Mr. Campbell reported that a blue and reddened sun was reported in China as documented in 1983. Paul Simons, in an article entitled, "Where the Secrets of Miracle at Fatima," stated that it is possible that some of the optical effects at Fatima may have been caused by a cloud of dust from the Sahara. Skeptical investigator Joe Nickel wrote that the dancing sun effects reported at Fatima were a combination of factors including optical effects and meteorological phenomena, such as the sun being seen through thin clouds causing it to appear as a silver disk. Other possibilities include an alteration in the density of the passing clouds, causing the sun's image to alternately brighten and dim and seem to advance and recede in dust, or moisture droplets in the atmosphere refracting the sunlight, and thus imparting a variety of colors. However, José María de Almeida Garrett observed, it could not be confused with the sun seen through a fog. Nickel also suggests that unusual visual effects could have resulted from temporary retinal distortion caused by staring at the intense light of the sun, or have been caused by a sundog, a relatively common atmospheric optical phenomenon. Nickel also highlights the psychological suggestibility of the witnesses, noting that devout spectators often come to locations where Marian apparitions have been reported, fully expecting some miraculous events such as the 1988 Lubbock apparition of Mary in Texas, the Mother Cabrini Shrine near Denver, Colorado in 1992, and Conyers, Georgia in the early to mid-1990s. The masses observing the alleged apparition at Fatima included many who came expecting a miracle alongside numerous secular reporters and skeptics whose expectations including disproving any miracle. Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Would you like to know more?